Yeah, I mean, that was good. Dude, the UFC's so I can't watch anything besides baseball in the UFC.
Let's get in the Padres. Come on, I got a lot of shit to talk
You got a
about.
lot of shit to talk about. Oh, I like
Yeah,
that.
you rattle off some topics. Let's
All
talk
right, I got
about
a
it.
couple topics for you. The first question to kind of open everything out. There's tons of off-season moves that we could think about and calculate, but how much do you think Peter's willing to spend? That's the biggest thing. How much do you think he's willing to spend? Like right off the rip, what do you think he's willing to give up to make this team a championship level team?
I can really only answer that question by just saying yes. He is going to spend. I think there's a limit to what he's going to spend. He just made a fuck ton of money from playoffs in San Diego. I
Yeah,
mean, like, he made millions and millions
for
of
sure.
dollars
I spent
in the
like
playoffs.
$1,300 on tickets.
Yeah, and if you, I think he said this like the other day in a quote, like in an interview, where he said something like, "You got to spend money to make it back" or whatever. But
Yeah,
like
he
he
said
gets
some.
it. He gets that he's investing his money into this team for a city that's deprived of playoff baseball, playoffs and sports in general, and that if he puts his money into this and builds a winning team, he's going to make that money back.
Yeah,
It's not just the incentive to get the Padres to the playoffs and win a World Series, like for him to watch it happen. He's going to make a lot of money off of that
hmm
because there's a lot of like disillusioned fans that came back this year because they were like, holy shit, the Padres made the NLCS for the first time since
yeah,
the 90s.
yeah.
So a lot of fucking money in that. We're like the eighth largest city in the United States.
Yeah, and I don't get why all these people like Heyman keep saying we're a small market team. I don't get where, unless there's some stats we're missing. Like you're talking about one of the biggest counties in California, one of the biggest counties in the country in San Diego County. Like the fact of the matter is, I don't know. It felt like down here everyone was rallying around the Padres. I'm looking around town and people are having signs out that say "Not for Machado." Like,
Yeah.
like
And
that's just the
the
thing.
thing is, when people say small market, they're referring to the media market because,
Yeah,
like, the Dodgers dominate Southern California. We just kind of have like a little corner down in San Diego
yeah,
County,
yeah. I
but
get that.
we're an exception to the rule because it, like, for the most part, when you have a small media market elsewhere in the United States, normally it's a small like population and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
like in-person attendance to match it. We're
Yeah.
kind of an exception to that because we're top 10 in merchandise sales as well as
I
attendance.
never knew that.
So
I knew we were top 10 in attendance, but I didn't know merchandise. I mean, but like
yeah,
that's the thing. I think coming into where the Padres started to, I don't know, like 2019. After the 2019 season, Padres were a mid-market team, I would say. I would say we were a
yeah,
mid-market team, and the big thing that separates mid-market teams and big market teams is exponential success. Like you look around, even San Diego, you see people wearing Cubs hats, you see people wearing Dodger hats, you see people wearing the big teams, Yankee hats, Mets hats. Those are the big market teams, and that's just because they're successful outside of it. Now you have kids wanting to buy Machado jerseys, wanting to buy Soto jerseys that are in Texas and stuff like that, and I think that's huge in making the market big. The other thing is like it seemed like the city rallied around. Like there was girls that I know that don't know shit about fucking baseball or sports, and they're like, oh my god, you're at the game, like stuff like that. That's just kind of like that's how it was.
yeah. No, I know exactly the type of girls you were talking about because in high school they would all wear the fucking Will Myers jerseys.
Oh, the Will Myers jerseys with like the white Will
That was
Myers jerseys with like the blue
that's when
the
I
blue
was in
dad
fucking high
hat.
school.
Yeah,
It was like every girl at my high school had a fucking Will Myers jersey at school.
that's how it was for me too. And a lot of them had that Tyson Ross giveaway jersey.
Fuck.
I don't know why. It's the most random thing. It's
Fuck the podcast. Let's just name off like 2014 Padres players. Remember
yeah.
when Seth Smith hit 2 home runs in a game?
Dude, I thought Seth Smith was the truth.
Yeah, me too.
I actually
Let,
was.
let me ask you a question to keep us on topic because I can go on all day about former Padres. So John Heyman came out with an article earlier this evening, and he said it's one of those weird little John Heyman articles where he writes like a fucking sentence about one thing he's hearing about because he's not a real journalist
Yeah.
or something,
Well,
I guess.
the thing about it is what's that? He's a writer for the New York Post, which is like
Yeah.
the definition of a fluff news like team. Like everything you read from the New York Post is like it's 3 paragraphs, and it's like Joe Biden went outside today. Like it's like when you're bullshitting your essays in class.
His was just a single sentence that said, "On, let me read the quote because the quote's funnier." Because, like, you won't even believe this is, like, a real fucking thing. He said, "Word is, good chance Fernando Tatis Jr. plays the outfield once allowed back. Ha-Sung Kim was outstanding defensively and became a fan favorite at shortstop."
Like, dude, he's so bad. I think I remember when it all happened, like, after we beat the Mets, he went rogue on the Padres. Like, he was just trying to defame everything about the Padres. And I was just like, dude, I was just subtweeting him. I was like, you're no longer sexy John Heyman. I have no respect for you. Like, originally, John Heyman was like, he wasn't that bad. But all these MLB Network people, like, besides DeRosa, they all turned on the Padres. Like, it was really weird. It was weird because it's like the Padres are like that. This year, they were that feel-good story. They were the feel-good story that you're usually looking for. Like, every team has a feel-good story in the postseason, whether it's in March Madness, whether it's in basketball, whatever it is. But, like, for whatever reason, these people at MLB Network did not want to buy into it. They were like, fuck the Padres. You have Brian Kenny trying to do whatever with Musgrove. I didn't even understand. I have a friend that works for MLB Network, and I asked him, I was like, what's up with Brian Kenny saying all that? He's like, honestly, they're just doing whatever to make the big market team look better, which is embarrassing.
Vaseline doesn't increase spin rate, dipshits.
No, it doesn't. It actually doesn't. It's not
that type of sticky substance.
No, it's slick. It's slick. If anything, you'd lose control too. You wouldn't gain
control.
You
would.
Yeah.
You would.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I would hope that Brian Kenny's touched a baseball in the last 20 years, but I'd be surprised. But kind of to get back onto topic about the Padres offseason, you tweeted out saying, who's the odd man between Kim, Grisham, Profar, and Jury? I want your opinion on that. I want your opinion, not you waiting for responses on Twitter. Truly what your reaction is when you think about that.
I think it's Profar. If he wants, because AC said that he is likely going to opt out. I had someone tell me today that AC's usually wrong, but he's probably right about this one. If Profar thinks he can go out and get more than what is it, $8.3 million next year on his option, if he wants to go test the open market, he can go fuck right off. Like he had a 723 OPS. He played great defense, but I'm not paying you more than $8.3 million a year. We'll go find someone who can actually hit home runs.
Yeah, he was definitely a step up defensively from his normal career seasons. But I mean, just like personally, I feel like with Profar, he's not like I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Like, he's not an outfielder that is fundamentally sound. He makes great plays, and he makes plays that are like, damn, like, yes. But I also think a lot of the reason he threw out runners, and I said this before, was because the scouting report was take the extra base on him.
You're right.
Like, if you look at all the times he threw people out, it was at the beginning of the season. But a lot of times the stuff that he did that pissed me off was he would call off Grisham. Grisham has a stronger arm. Grisham's a better fielder, better footwork. He'd call off Grisham, and he would, like, slide into the ball and get up and throw it. The amount of times I saw that dude on his knees, it looked like he was playing in fucking caps. Like, it was crazy. Like, that's not defensively sound. That's how you give up extra bases. That's how runs score. Yes, it makes it look like he's saving the play, but he's really not, in my opinion. But that's interesting that you think it's Profar. I mean, you don't think Grisham could possibly get traded?
I kind of wanted to talk about Kim and Grisham here, because this is my perspective on it. There's a lot of people saying, like, there's absolutely no reason you should trade Ha-Sung Kim over Trent Grisham specifically, because Grisham had, a horrible season last year, and Kim improved offensively and defensively significantly. And I don't think, like, people are really thinking it through all the way, because it's like, he had a great year last year, and he's got all this control, and he plays shortstop. But how often do you see a team that's in a position where you have two really good, controllable, high-value shortstops?
Yeah, and I think whether what you think of Kim's hitting, I don't think Kim's the greatest hitter. I think his swing's very long.
Yeah,
but
he's not a great hitter.
He's highly valued at shortstop because he does have the upside if he makes a couple adjustments where he can hit. And His defense is the best in the league, probably. I don't think there's a better defensive shortstop
Yeah.
right now. Welch
Well,
wanted me to ask you what you thought of Patrick Sandoval.
oh shit, Welch, what's up? Is he like live commenting on this or something?
Yeah.
Oh shit, we're live?
Yeah.
What's up, Twitter? Jesus,
It's
on
YouTube.
I didn't even know we were fucking recording
That's-
first. Now we're live. But
I think
it's
that's
all
my
good.
bad. That's my bad. This is the
Patrick
first time I've done this.
Sandoval is a shit. I always get him confused with the other guy in the Angels, Sandoval and some other guy. But yeah, Sandoval, I think he's the lefty with the
Yeah,
the
he
good
is.
changeup.
He's the slow lefty. He's going to eat innings. He's kind of similar to Manaea, but much more polished off.
I think he's got a bunch of control left, and because of that, I don't think the Angels are going to trade him.
Well, the Angels still think they can compete, right? They think they're just a couple adjustments away. I mean, that's how they've thought for the last 20 years.
Yeah, because the Angels are fucking stupid.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
they're going to still try to compete. You're right.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. They're convinced they're not a hop, skip, and jumping away, but rather just a hop and a skip, which is I don't know. I mean, this is a Padre podcast, but I don't know. The Angels are interesting because they're gonna have to start selling stuff off. They're gonna be under new ownership. They're trying to make trades to fix their issues. Like I heard they're trying to trade Rendon. What value does Rendon have? Like truthfully,
because he's like dead or something like
he's
that.
Injured consistently. His contract's $295 million. It's like the Angels, I don't know. They've signed some of the worst contracts in the last 10 years in sports, period.
They're going to give 1-year contracts out to Mike Clevenger and Sean Manaea, and they're going to declare.
Oh, for sure, Clevenger. Yeah. I can read it. I can see it already. Definitely.
They are a wild card team because of that. Mike Clevenger's coming home. Not to his wife and kids, but to Anaheim.
I really tried to gas Mike Clevenger up before Game 4. I really tried. But you know what? In some respects, it made sense. The first half of the season, he was pretty good for the first half. But the other thing about it is he's coming back from Tommy John. No one's going to come back from Tommy John the first season back and be Jesus. That's obvious, you know? So I think Mike Clevenger could still be a decent starter for some team, but when you give up 3 runs and don't record an out in a playoff game, you've pretty much lost your opportunity in whatever city you're in.
Let's well, first off, I don't think I got to finish saying what I was going to say about Hassan Kim because I had a point to get to.
Yeah, I interrupted you. Yes.
No, you're chilling. My point with that is like he's so extremely valuable that like you'd be kind of dumb not to at least go see what you can get with him in a trade because like he's going to contribute a lot to the team, but you have no idea what you can go get with him. Like you could get some insane return from like a team that misses out on one of the big free agent shortstops or someone who wants a bunch of value at shortstop but doesn't want to pay $20 million for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you should trade him, but his value is so high that you should at least, put it out there to different teams and be like, hey, what are you willing to give up for this guy? Because we know you want a shortstop.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But I mean, as much as I hate on Ha-Seong Kim, if he finds a way to hit 250 with 20 home runs like he was promised to be when he showed up here, he will help the Padres win a World Series next year. He'll be a huge contributor because if you have a defensive shortstop that's hitting decent with a little bit of pop, that's unheard of in baseball. Usually they're completely shit defensively or they don't even play shortstop. I mean, most shortstops in the league in the last 10 years are either just defensive specialists that hit like 210 or they're terrible in the field and hit high, but they're forced to play there because they don't want to take a right fielder out of the lineup or a first baseman or a third baseman, Yeah,
no, I agree. And honestly, like I think the most likely outcome here is you're going to see Kim at shortstop and Tatis in one of the corners. If Profar opts out.
I think if Profar opts out, you put Tatis and right because I think Tatis has a better arm than Soto. Soto does have a good arm, but and Tatis is going to cover more ground playing at Petco. Right field's a little bit more difficult to play than left field. Left field's a fairly easy position to play there, in my opinion. So I think if you put Soto in left, he's going to look a lot better than losing fly balls in playoff games.
Yeah, and I actually a notification just popped up on my screen from Twitter saying, "You're insane if you think Tatis should play the outfield." I don't know if that was directed at me or if it's like in a comment chain. But like, I'm not saying I want him to, but I'm just talking about what is most likely going to happen. They're most likely going to keep Kim as the everyday shortstop. And if Profar opts out, which is supposedly inevitable, Tatis is going to play one of the corners, which he has the athleticism to figure it out by the end of next year.
Yeah, he does. And I mean, I don't know why, but I haven't thought about Tatis playing shortstop again since the season ended. It's always been, I think he's going to the corner outfields.
Yeah, and like I expect them, like I expect there's going to be like some Kim trade rumors, like
oh for sure
at some point, but I think it's inevitable they're going to put him out there,
yeah.
Especially because they were hyping up David Macias, I think his name is, the outfield coach. Now he helped Soto out when he first came over. Didn't really age well in the playoffs.
No,
or whatever.
It didn't. Yeah, they were hyping him up.
Yeah, so let's talk a little starting rotation because
that's what I was gonna. That's the next question I have written down for you. Kind of going into the starting rotation, you have two wildly open spots, and you have one player who technically hasn't opted out yet, but I don't think he's going to opt in because his contract's so shitty. And Nick Martinez. But first of all, how would you dream the rotation be structured if you were AJ Preller? And you know AJ Preller, and you're pretty good at predicting what type of moves he's going to make. What do you expect him to make? That's my two questions there.
I 100% expect Kodai Senga to be the fourth starter.
That's where you're DMing me, yeah.
Yeah, this guy, I've been like fucking talking about him for months at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He might be, in terms of overall like arm talent, maybe not like the most polished pitcher, but the most talented pitcher to come over from Japan. And I'm including
you think he's more
over Ohtani.
Yeah, I think we had this discussion where you sent me that and you said he doesn't have any breaking pitches. You said he just has a fastball and a splitter. And my instant reaction was, well, when Ohtani came over, he didn't have a breaking pitch. He developed his breaking pitch in like 2020, I think.
Yeah, no, and exactly. Like, I'll like do a quick breakdown on Senga. He's 6'2", 210, I think, is what the Japanese professional baseball website said he is.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a very big dude, but like his average fastball is like 97. He's up to 102. He's got his splitter is so nasty that they have like a nickname for it in Japan. I think they call it the ghost fork. Which, like, it's kind of fucking cringy, but like if you have a nickname for your off-speed pitch,
that's how you know
it's fucking good.
My changeup in high school is called the Great Equalizer, so that's how you know.
The Great Equalizer.
That's how you know it's disgusting.
Nice. Yeah, but I've watched some film on him, and like it's a good. He doesn't really locate it like as well as you would like him to.
Yeah.
But like it's just got so much movement. Sometimes you think you're watching a fucking reverse slider.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And he throws breaking pitches. Like I've seen him throw sliders and curveballs. They're just like comparatively not that good. So he can improve there. But the fact that you got a starting pitcher who doesn't really have a history of injuries, constantly throws 150 plus innings, and consistently gets up to 102 with a really nasty splitter. His floor is basically a better version of Kevin Gausman.
Yeah,
and he's only expected to make $15 million when
That's crazy.
Crisis contract. Fuck. There you go. It's the first time in this recording where I failed to speak English. Get used to it because I talk too fucking fast. Yeah, he's a better version of Kevin Gausman already coming over, and he's probably going to sign for 15 to 17 million.
And
Chris Bassett's supposed to get 18. So.
Yeah, and Gausman signed for what was it, 105?
Oh, he got like fucking
150, I think. It was
20, 30 something million a year. He got a huge deal.
I think Gausman signed for 105. Robbie Ray signed for like 130. Robbie Ray signed for more. I'm positive on that, which is crazy.
I'm not sure. We'll fact check later. But they both got huge contracts that they can't fucking live up to. So
Yeah, but I mean, Gosman's was pretty good this year from what I thought. I don't know. Robbie Ray,
3.4
no.
ERA, not what they were looking for with that money. But
I mean, the thing with Robbie Ray is the guy had like a half good season in Toronto and made $105 million off of it,
yeah.
which is crazy. But like you said Senga. Who do you think's that fifth spot's going to?
So one thing, like, and I'm gonna answer twice here. Sorry, I fucking always go off on a fucking tangent every time you ask a question. So I could see it happening 2 ways. If they decide to trade Ha-Seong Kim, I think he would go to the Marlins. This is the only team I really suggest trading him to, because it's a situation where people say, oh, Ha-Seong Kim shouldn't be available for trade. At the same time, all those pitchers on the Marlins shouldn't be available for trade, but they are. You should only trade someone who shouldn't be available for someone who also shouldn't be available.
Yeah.
And they got guys like Jesus Luzardo, for example. Like,
Luzardo's a gamer.
Oh, yeah. He's got 3 years control left. And if you look at his numbers, just not on the surface, but like below the surface too, like strikeouts, hits per nine, stuff like that, he was like pretty much a carbon copy of Blake Snell by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And we all know how good Blake Snell was.
Yeah. Blake Snell's great.
So, you're getting a guy like that with 3 years of control. Ha-Seong Kim has 2 years of control. I think he's going to opt out after the second year, because it's 3, but I think he's got a mutual option, so he can opt out. And I mean, if he continues playing like he is, he will opt out to get more money. He's not for the boys like that. But that's a trade I would consider.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think it's going to be Nick Martinez.
You think it's going to be Nick Martinez?
Yeah.
See, this is what I was thinking. My dream situation is if man, it's tough because you want to go. If you're going to go all in, and I know everyone's talking about Corbin Burns, if you're going to go all in for the starting pitching, right?
Yeah.
I think if you're going all in, you got to go after Sandy. 4 years of control, club option. He has a player option in 2026. That's the first time he can opt out, is in 4 years. I think he's going to be around the same price because he signed. What did he sign? Sandy last offseason.
$550.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's exactly it. Which you're talking about a dude who's better than Joe Musgrove. I think he's clearly better than Joe Musgrove in my opinion. And you're paying him half as much as Joe Musgrove's getting paid for the same amount of years. So I think if you're going to go in all in, Sandy's the guy. I don't know what it would take to get Sandy Alcantara. I really don't. I don't know what the hell it would take.
I mean, they've already said, I think that he's unavailable, but I mean, obviously that doesn't really mean shit.
It's the Marlins. If they get the right price, they'll take anything.
I mean, if you're going to get him, you're probably looking at, and like, forgive me, those are going to be a lot, but you're probably looking at Kim Grisham, Merrill, Lesko, Snelling. You might have to fucking find a way to give them Ethan Salas too. Like, they're going to ask for a fuck ton because they stole him, with that extension, and they know it.
They stole him with that extension. They stole him from the Cardinals too. Don't forget that. He was a Cardinals prospect. Cardinals have made a lot of shitty trades, to be honest. A lot of Arozarena, Adolis Garcia just kind of under the carpet. No one talks about them, but they've made some really bad ones. But yeah, I think if you're really gonna go all in, I'd rather pay the premium and get Sandy Alcantara. Do I think Sandy Alcantara is built to be this insane playoff pitcher? I don't know because he hasn't pitched in the playoffs, but he has the stuff for it, in my opinion. High velocity always works well in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he's better than Zach Wheeler, and we saw how good he has done so far in the playoffs.
Zach Wheeler's looked great.
Power pitching always kills in the playoffs. I mean, it's very rare when it doesn't.
And that kind of brings me into the other player that I would really like to see the Padres go after, and he's kind of a wild card. I would love to see the Padres get Nathan Eovaldi.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's a wild card, and I've said it since 2020 at the deadline. Every single time we've gone through the deadline, I've been like, listen, this is the guy I want the Padres to get. Because, as you know from 2018, the guy can come out of the bullpen and shove. The guy can start and shove. Imagine if we had Nathan Eovaldi in our rotation instead of Mike Clevenger. Dude, we would have won the World Series already. Like, truthfully, no one's going to beat a rotation that we would have had if we had him, if we traded for him at the deadline. I mean, frankly, the Sean Manaea fall-off started slightly before the deadline, and the Clevenger fall off started after the deadline. But I mean, he suits that Nick Martinez role, so I assume if you get him, you don't need Nick Martinez anymore. But I mean, he's going to be a little bit more pricey than Nick Martinez. I haven't looked at Spot Rack at him.
Yeah, you see now you're doing it too.
Yeah, now
it's a fucking disease. I'm spreading it over Zoom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, dude, he's every time I love watching that guy pitch. He's fun to watch.
And I like that you brought up, because like when I was talking about that Senga guy, it's the same thing. Like, in the back of my mind, where like if you make the playoffs, this is the type of guy who has the stuff to come in with and just be a high leverage reliever, just fucking throw 100 right down everyone's throat, have nasty off speed to get guys out.
Exactly.
And so I like the thought process with Nate Eovaldi too.
Yeah, and like that was kind of my thing. Like in the playoffs, like I was like, listen, Mike Clevenger's either going to get completely raked or he's going to pull one out of his ass like Anibal Sanchez did in 2019, where their arms are completely cooked, but somehow they're getting the ball by people or getting weak contact.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was throwing the ball down the middle, so that wasn't going to happen. But now that we've kind of gone over the pitchers and adjustments you think of the rotation, what do you think, period, just over free agents, who do you think the Padres are going to look into? Who do you think you're going to see in the rumor mill?
Anthony Rizzo is number one in my mind of someone who they're going to go after. I've seen a lot of people compare him to Eric Hosmer, believe it or not. And
he's the opposite
it's
of
like
he launches the ball in the air.
Yeah. You got to look at it this way. Yeah, Anthony Rizzo's an old first baseman, but you're going to get him on a short-term deal, even if you got to pay him a lot per year. He has never not hit for power. And the big thing for me, which you'll see some people downplay it, but he gets shifted against about 80-something% of the time when he's at bat, and the shift is going to be banned or reduced next year. I think you're going to see the batting average, which everyone's concerned about, go up, and the power production stay the same, and you're going to have a cleanup hitter. And I think he's a perfect fit.
Yeah, not only that, but his mold as a player, I don't know the best way to describe it, but watching his at-bats, he's similar to Juan Soto in terms of pitches he takes and how he manipulates the strike zone. There's been times this year where I've seen videos on Pitching Ninja of Rizzo kind of doing like this, like almost like, how Grisham, whenever he gets an inside fastball, he tries to do this and get away with it. Yeah. It never works, by the way. I haven't seen Grisham do that once and gotten the call. Every single time they ring him up. But for whatever reason, Rizzo does like this weird lean thing, and he's gotten calls where it's like 4 inches inside the zone, they're calling it balls. So I think like kind of looking at it, he's almost like, you can't say he's a carbon copy of Juan Soto. There is no such thing as a carbon copy of Juan Soto.
There's similarities.
But there's similarities in attributes. There's similarities in value to the team. And, if you build a lineup where you hit Tatis leadoff, Soto second, Machado third, Rizzo fourth, and Jury fifth, who do you pitch to in those first 5? They're all going to be all-stars next year. Who do you pitch to? It's going to make the team completely different dynamic. That's the issue with how our team functioned this year was, okay, first of all, you have Kim or Profar leading off. If you're lucky, 2 out of 10 times they get a base hit in the leadoff spot. Okay, pitch around Soto if they get out. Okay, if Soto forces a ball into the ground, pitch around Machado, and you're in the clear. You have to face Josh Bell, Will Myers, and then sometimes Bob Melvin would be like, hey, Brandon Jury's a good guy to start, which is mind-boggling to me how many times Will Myers started over Brandon Jury in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
No kidding.
But any other free agents besides Rizzo?
Let me think about that. Going back to pitching, I mentioned Chris Bassett earlier. He's got a good relationship with Bob Melvin, so I definitely think
that's the thing I was gonna say, and I didn't mention it. I think chances are we're gonna end up with Luzardo or Bassett just because Bob Melvin wants one of his guys. That's the whole reason we traded for Sean Manaea. We didn't trade for Sean Manaea because we needed him. We didn't trade him because we wanted from him. I guarantee you Bob Melvin walked in one day and during spring training was like, I need one of my guys. Get me Sean Manaea. Get me Luzardo, who is possibilities, because I'm pretty sure he's always been fond of Luzardo from everything I know, because Luzardo came up in, what was that, 2018 or 2019? He was huge in the postseason. He was huge in the postseason. So
Yeah.
I think options are you're getting one of them. I mean, Bassett's pretty old. He's 34. So I don't know. That's old for. That's when you're starting to get up there for a pitcher.
Another guy who, and I would keep an eye out for this because the Brewers just shifted around some guys in the front office, so they might be looking to cut payroll. I think Hunter Renfroe might get non-tendered or traded.
Didn't he get non-tendered 2 years ago?
He did, and that was after a really bad season with the Rays. But since then, he's slugged around 500 the past 2 years. He would slot really well out in the outfield. You could DH him if you want to. He hits for power, and that's what we need. So I think that's another guy I expect them to be in on. But other than that, I think it's mainly just going to be they're going to look to get back Suarez, Drury, Martinez, and then kind of build around that from there.
Yeah, someone just asked me, would you prefer Jameson Taillon or Andrew Heaney? Which is like, that's really, I wouldn't want either of those guys on the Padres personally. But if you had to choose one of them, who would you go with?
I'd go with Jameson because I don't know, something about Heendog. Like he seems like that type of guy where like he has a breakout with the Dodgers and he comes to the Padres and absolutely shits the bed.
Well, he's never been that good, you know.
Yeah,
Jameson
until this year,
was pretty good on the Pirates for a bit.
Yeah, and I don't think he was bad on the Yankees either. I feel like with former Dodgers pitchers, I know this is kind of like a cliche and like might not even be true, but I feel like analytically they just know shit that a lot of other teams don't.
They do.
And they know how to like handle certain guys. And that's why you see like former guys like from that team go elsewhere and then they're just not as good because of, small little things that most teams don't even pay attention to that for some reason the Dodgers have figured out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it's obvious. You're talking about a dude, for example, Yancy Almonte had a below 2 ERA this year. This guy had a fucking 15 ERA 2 seasons ago with the Rockies. Like, what happened,
Oh, those Keys, man. Those Colorado Keys.
the Keys, man. The Mormon lands, man. The Mormons. Any other free agents you think could be out there?
Not that I can think of. I was actually there's a couple trade targets though I was talking about yesterday. Because
that was my next one was trade targets for sure.
Yeah, I was talking about like another high leverage bullpen arm because I think we need to get someone to kind of bridge the gap between Suarez, who I'm just assuming is going to re-sign because you've got to go fucking pay him as whatever he wants. Bring him back in the
He's an open checkbook guy for sure.
Yeah, I think you got to get a guy to place between him and Garcia, my boy Big Luis the Barber, because Garcia's got the stuff, he struggled with location, and for some reason he's not confident enough in his slider, which is clearly his best pitch. So I think while you try to figure that out with him, kind of pull him back into a 6th, 7th inning role, get another guy in high leverage. And the guy I'm looking at right now is Hunter Harvey. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I've heard of him. He was on the Orioles for a bit, right?
Yeah, he was big time. I think he was drafted 22nd overall a couple years ago. Big power pitcher. He's never made it as a starter, but the Nationals took a flyer on him, and I don't know why the Orioles never tried him out as a reliever, as like a full-on bullpen arm.
Yeah.
And just gave up on him. But he went over into Washington. He was just completely lights out. 2.5 ERA. He had one of the lower FIPS in the league. I know that's kind of a sketchy stat, but he struck out a ton of people, didn't walk anybody. Really, really nasty splitter. Throws 100. I think that's the perfect trade target to kind of put in the back end of the bullpen and really fortify that back end. So it's not just you got to get to Suarez and Hader. You need another guy back there that you have 100% confidence.
We had that issue in the postseason. Obviously, Game 4. If you had that guy, you wouldn't have Sean Manaea going out. I mean, frankly, I don't know if you watched. Did you watch any of Bob Melvin's post-game press conferences after those 2 games?
No. I was probably too pissed off.
Well, it's a great decision because he said after game 4 he wanted Manaea to go through the lineup twice. Not pitch 2 innings, but he wanted him to make it through the lineup twice before he brought in another arm. Which the dude hasn't gone through the lineup twice since April. Like,
yeah, good fucking luck with that.
And the other thing he said that pissed me off, man, was he said he wanted Darvish to go through the lineup 4 times in game 5. In the postseason, pitchers don't go through the lineup 4 times. That doesn't happen, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, regardless of if it's a Bob Melvin thing or if it's, that he's not confident in a lot of the guys out of the bullpen, that's a problem you got to fix
you have
by
to address it.
Yeah, add more high leverage. I think Harvey's a good option. Mm-hmm. I'd look at Rafael Montero.
Yep, even I heard you say that. He's dirty. Yeah, he's been dirty for a while. I think the first time wasn't he the guy that gave up the grand slam to Machado in 2020 on the Rangers? I believe it was him, the walk-off grand slam. I think it was him.
It might have been because he was on the Rangers. I just can't remember.
Yeah, and then he got traded at that deadline to the Mets, and then he stayed with the Mets. Yeah. That year and
he hopped around Mets, Mariners, and now Astros. I think
he's dirty. He's good. He's got a great slider, from what I know.
Really good slider. Really good. I think he throws a splitter. He throws 96, 98. A lot of run on his fastball. Mm-hmm. He's going to make a lot of money because he's got like a 2.06 ERA this year, and he's pitching in the World Series right now. But if I think you got to get Bob Melvin another option in the very back of the bullpen. Yeah, and Drew Pomeranz might as well.
He's actually in the game of the World Series right now.
Costa Rica under a different name right now.
He's pitching right now in the World Series as we speak.
Drew Pomeranz?
No, Montero.
Oh, I was going to say Drew Pomeranz might be pitching in the World Series right now because I don't know where the fuck he's been for 2 years.
I don't know where he's been. He's a free agent, right?
No, we got another year of control on him. We're paying him $10 million to sit at home and eat fucking cheeseburgers.
He was
so
good in 2020. He was so good in 2020. When Kirby Yates' arm went Kaplitsky, and before we got Rosenthal, Pomeranz was ice. He was good, man.
He had back-to-back years of a sub-2 ERA here. Like, he's good, just I'm not going to entertain the idea that he'll actually be pitching for us next year because he's the new Jose Castillo. Yeah. He exists, but you have no proof that he exists. He's just always on the fucking IL.
I haven't heard Jose Castillo's a name I haven't heard in a long time. I mean, and people, I don't know if you saw it, but people are trying to say we should call him back up at the end. Like, I think it was halfway through this year, like around August. But I mean, the dude's arm's like done. He throws like 90.
Yeah, he's done. Like he's like, I don't want to say he's Lamet because like I think he fell off even worse than Lamet because like he was sitting 93 when he got called up here, and it was just like, all right, that's it. Like you gotta pull the plug on him because like his arm just will never be the same as it used to be.
And the thing about it is, guys like him are like Preller's little like gremlins. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's like, ooh, Jose Castillo, I'm gonna leave this guy and pay this guy and hold on to him and give him all the surgeries he needs for 5 years just to never exist and work well again. It's a very 2017, 2018 ex Padre move.
You'd think he was on the Rangers at some point with the way he fucking treats them, but
yeah.
All right. Anything else? Any other questions for Twitter user FriarBad on this fine evening? My revered opinion that earned blocks from Eric Hosmer and Jurickson Profar.
How did you get blocked by Profar? That's a good question.
Because he was going to be named the starting left fielder this year.
Oh, and I remember.
Excited to point out that he did not have very good career numbers, and apparently you got a little upset by hearing that.
So a kid that I went to school with, I'll share this about Profar. There's a lot of people that create Padre Instagram group chats, which I've been in those, and that is hell compared to Twitter group chats. I thought Twitter group chats were weird. Instagram group chats are like it's like fucking multiply 40 Mojave Desert 24 users on Twitter and put them all in a group chat.
Hey, if Mojave Desert is watching this video, I don't understand why I'm not in the Padres Twitter poll.
Yeah, he put Luis in there.
Oh, big Luis. Big fan of Luis.
I like Luis. Luis is cool. But, I mean, no this is towards Javi. It's just like all these guys are just like they make these weird jokes. Either way, they invited Profar to the group chat, and Profar joined, and they just shit on Profar. Like, there's a screenshot of it, and they're just like constantly shitting on Profar. You can't do shit. And you know what Profar said? All he said was, "I need a home run." That's all he said. He just said, "I need a home run, and I'll shut you guys up." And then he hit a home run 2 days later. So credit to him. But I mean, dude, yeah, I remember the discussions coming into the year. Who's our starting left fielder? And Profar came super hot out of the gates. I remember, which he usually does. It seems like, at least since he's been on the Padres. But like, in the Hosmer block, I didn't get blocked by Hosmer. Why did you get blocked?
I wasn't a very big fan of his. I've calmed down since then, but it's whatever. Like, look, if they're not gonna see this, but like, my opinion does not fucking matter that much.
Yeah.
I don't get paid to give my opinion. I just fucking give it. It doesn't mean shit.
Exactly.
I'm not a professional or anything, even if I've acted like it before. I'm not a professional. My opinion doesn't really matter that much. Yeah. So if you blocked me because I hurt your feelings, I apologize. But who the fuck cares what I think? You could buy me. You have so much money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Hosmer, fucking the house that he has down the street from me is ginormous, which I think he's selling, by the way. I just saw a for sale sign. So I think
he's going to be living in Boston.
Well, I mean, just because he's living in Boston doesn't mean he's going to spend all his time there. Like, a lot of players in the offseason tend to go to other houses, but it doesn't make sense, like tax reasons. It doesn't make sense for him to keep that house, because the last thing he wants is for his fat contract to get taxed saying that he lives in California versus living, pretty sure Massachusetts doesn't have that crazy of income tax as California. If anything, he's hoping to get traded to the Rangers.
Bottom line, and speaking of fat, prior to this video, I still kind of am, I was some fat dude on Twitter criticizing a man who's worth $144 million. Eric, for the love of God, it does not matter that much. Look at that fucking house you have down the street from this guy.
Yeah.
My opinion doesn't fucking matter.
Did you see he blocked Arcelo on Twitter?
He didn't actually. That was from Fax News.
Dude, if that was actually true, that would have been hilarious. That would have been it would have been like the most random thing ever. He's just like, fuck all these Twitter users, and Don Arcelo, fuck you. Like, that would have been hilarious. A couple more questions that I have written down we can kind of base off of. What would a successful offseason look like to you?
A successful offseason to me would be if you address the following problems. You need to put power in the middle of the lineup.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Because that was a huge deficiency of ours through the entire year. He'd had 2 power hitters, one at first base, one at DH. Mm-hmm. I prefer Rizzo and Drury, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Don't sign Aaron Judge, for the love of God. Obviously, you need to get 2 starting pitchers. One of those needs to be good enough to start in a playoff game.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I need one more arm in the back of the bullpen for high leverage. Just one. Mm-hmm. Not including Robert Suarez.
What do you think the odds are that Nick Martinez becomes a full-time reliever? That's just kind of what I was thinking, because you're talking about back of the end bullpen people. I mean, he was kind of the glue to the bullpen in the postseason. I feel like he bridged the gap between, you have the starter go 5 innings, the 6th inning you go with Martinez, 7th inning you go with Garcia or Suarez, you do the opposite in the 8th, and you go Hader in the 9th. Like, it made sense.
I'm going to put it at 0%, and here's why. Nick Martinez has a huge opportunity to get paid because of the fact that he can start games. If he wants to become a full-time reliever, he's not going to make as much money. So he's going to make it so when he signs a contract this offseason, it's going to be for him to be a full-time starting pitcher.
Yeah,
whether that's him coming back here or going to another team.
That's for sure. Yeah. What are the possibilities AJ makes a big splash? Prelapalooza 9.0, 10.0, 11.0, whatever the fuck we're on.
He will try to trade for Shohei Ohtani. He will.
What is he going to give up? What is there to give up anymore?
He might actually do it. And, first off, the whole sources thing is overplayed. I don't have sources anymore. That's a done deal. Information does not get leaked anymore. It did for a long time.
It did, but it
doesn't
feels
anymore.
like it hasn't. The Soto trade was like rumored and then just like happened.
Yeah.
No one talked about the Hader trade. I just woke up one morning, boom, Josh Hader's a Padre.
But bottom line, like that shit died out like over a year ago. That's not a thing.
It died out when Ron Fowler left. That's when it died.
Pretty much. I mean, I wasn't. If I ever said that I knew stuff, I wasn't lying. But now I don't anymore. It's no longer a thing under any circumstance. But back when I would hear stuff, I did hear like early 2021 that they were talking about trading for Ohtani. Yeah, and that the Angels sent out scouts to go look at Ryan Weathers in Cincinnati. And they asked for a fuck ton, obviously. But the bottom line is he's made an attempt to trade for him 2 off seasons in a row, and he might actually be available, and he is going to go back and try to trade for him again. Same thing with Brian Reynolds. You know, whether you want him or not, I don't want him anymore.
I don't really want him anymore.
I thought he was great, and then he fucking fell apart this year. He was still good, but he wasn't like, you know, close to Soto like he was before.
Yeah.
In terms of overall value. But he's going to go back there and try to trade for him again because he never gives up trying to get his guys.
Yeah.
And he loves Brian Reynolds, so he's going to go back there too.
What type of package would – let's start with Ohtani because you said he's definitely making an attempt. He may pull it off, right?
Yeah, because Ohtani's a rental, and I think they know they have no shot at re-signing him because he does not want to be there anymore. It's funny, like in Japan, like the culture is you don't criticize like that much through the media, like you don't talk shit and stuff like that.
But he's done the polar opposite.
And someone asked him what he thought about the Angel season, and he just said, "I am dissatisfied."
Yeah, I remember that.
Which is like the rudest thing you're going to hear from a Japanese baseball player about his own team.
Yeah.
So I don't think he wants to come back in free agency, and I think they know that. So I think he is 95% going to be traded. And if he's going to be traded, it's kind of like the Juan Soto deal. If he's going to be traded, AJ Preller is going to make sure he is the one trading for him. I think Dylan Lesko would have to be on the table because if they're going to give up a big-time pitcher, they're going to want to get one back.
Yeah.
You could see Jackson Merrill involved, Robbie Snelling, Ethan Salton. Actually, never mind, this would be in the offseason, so Salas technically wouldn't be traded yet.
Yeah.
But I think he would put anyone on the table in terms of prospects for Ohtani.
That's crazy when you think about it. Like the Shohei Ohtani jokes, like, oh, trade. I always joke about it, like trade for Ohtani, yeah, for sure. But like when I think about it, I'm like, fuck, we gave up everyone that would be of value, in my opinion, to the Angels. But the more I think about it, the more you mention the names, like there's a real possibility Preller could pull this off. But if he pulls this off, how are you going to afford to keep Soto and Ohtani on the team? Yeah, one's got to go, right?
Big Dick Papa Pete, that's how we're going to afford it. He's going to open up that fucking checkbook, and he is going to pay every single one of those motherfuckers for $1 billion locked up between 4 players.
That's what it's going to happen. I mean,
I don't actually think that's going to happen, but if it did, it wouldn't surprise me.
That would be a dream come true. Imagine just waking up Tuesday, July 2024, you check the lineup, you're like, oh shit, we're DHing for Austin Nola today, who's behind the plate. Wait, we're DHing for Austin Nola, who's pitching? Oh, Otani's pitching, duh. Yeah. What else am I thinking? Oh, so the lineup's gonna go Tatis, Soto, Machado, Ohtani, Jury. Like, what?
Yeah,
like, that's
well,
crazy.
Drury's going to be fucking old at that point. I hope we have hit new, like, number 5 hitter by then. But
How old is Jury? I never
He's
really
31.
He's 31.
Or 32, one of the two.
I mean, I was looking at his spot track. He's not supposed to get paid a lot. He's supposed to get, like, 2 years, $13 million is what they said, which I think he's going to get more than that. But
way more.
Yeah,
way more.
He's I think spot track's a little bit off kilt sometimes with their values. I think that they valued Judge at 8 years, $300. I think Judge is going to be more like $245. I don't know, because the Judge market's just going to depend on the bidding. But if I was to sign Aaron Judge, I would do 8 years, $245. But I mean, if he signs 8 years, his contract's done when he's 38, which is he's probably going to retire before then. You're paying him for 3 years.
He is going to make $45 million this year. I mean, this offseason, $45 million a year is what he's going to get. I guarantee it.
For sure. I think the Dodgers are going to try to go after a lot of these guys, but I think the Giants are going to sign the biggest names in the NL West. I think they're going to go out. I think they're going to make a strong case for Dansby, and I think they're going to sign Judge. I think I could see Dansby and Judge both signing with him.
Which is stupid because, the Giants are about to lose their best player in Carlos Rodon.
Yeah. They
don't really have anyone that can hit. I think their best hitter right now is J.D. Davis.
Yeah, he was really hot for them. I remember that.
If the Giants do in fact sign a huge free agent like fucking Aaron Judge or Dansby Swanson, whoever, I think that's a mistake. I don't feel like they have the foundation to make such a signing right now. I mean, I guess you could say it would be their equivalent of the Padres signing Machado, but Machado was 26 when he signed. Aaron Judge is like 30. I think Dansby's 29.
You have a 3-year window if you sign him.
Yeah. No, you if the Giants sign a big free agent like that, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. But I mean, just like Farhan, he likes to throw shit at the wall and wait for it to stick.
Yeah.
But
if you have shit on your wall for a while, after a little while it starts to smell like shit.
And like that's what this year was. Yeah, that's what this year was. It's like, dude, you're paying Brandon Crawford like $30 million, you're paying Belt like 25.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
All the old guys ran out of Cialis and they can't hit anymore.
I don't even know how 2021 happened. I don't know how they won 107 games.
They might have been cheating, I'm not going to lie. They might have been cheating.
Dude, that was like the fucking definition of miracle on ice. Like it was crazy. Like it's like, were they on just like enhancers to make them 24 again? Like have the reactions of 24-year-olds? Like what happened?
I mean, like there's a genuine chance I think they may have been cheating, and it's not me trying to like shit on the Giants because NL West and all that shit. It's just like, how do a bunch of guys like Crawford, Belt, and Posey like randomly have outlier seasons in their mid-30s?
Yeah, and the big thing about that, and the reason I always think about that, is them performing the way they did completely took the wind out of the sails of the 2021 Padres. I think if the Giants rolled over like they did this year, the Padres probably would have made the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying we were going to win the World Series by any stretch. I didn't think we were going to do anything magical, but yeah. And kind of once again circling back to Ohtani, I asked you for the Ohtani package. Do you think there's any difference in names, or do you think there's more? What do you think's trading away more, getting Ohtani or getting Reynolds? Who do you think you're getting given up more for?
I think it's actually roughly the same. Because with Reynolds, he's coming from Pittsburgh. He's not as popular as Ohtani. That's the other thing you have to consider if you're the Angels. Like you're trading away a very popular player, not just in an American market, but in a foreign market as well. In Pittsburgh, they do not give a flying fuck because, I mean, they're like, they know their owner's not trying to win.
Yeah.
And you're kind of doing them a favor because the Pirates view baseball differently than the Padres do. The Padres view it as, we need to build a winner so our fans will come to the stadium and we'll make a profit. The Pirates view it as, we need to trade this guy away because he's going to start making too much money, and we need to keep our payroll at a certain level so we can continue to make a profit.
Yeah.
So the Pirates will view it as, we're trading Brian Reynolds because we don't want to pay him. The Angels will view it as, we don't want to trade Shohei Ohtani, but we know he's going to leave, so we might as well get something for him.
Yeah.
And I feel like those two mindsets kind of offset, and they're going to be about the same trade package, especially when you consider that Ohtani is twice, if not more than twice as valuable as Brian Reynolds is.
I think with Ohtani is not even talking about his ability on the field. His contract's going to pay for itself. There's going to be fans in Japan buying his jersey. There's going to be fans here buying his jersey. I mean, as much as I like to shit on how expensive Ha-Seong Kim's contract is, he's made his money back. Like, they've made their money back on Ha-Seong Kim. I see jerseys in Korean all over the stadium. I see people are all over it. They love Ha-Seong Kim. So imagine how much Padres gear is being sold in South Korea now.
Oh yeah.
That's huge exponential success. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you told me just strictly would I rather have Brian Reynolds or Ohtani, it's the same package. I'm taking Ohtani every time. I feel like that's
Yeah.
obvious. Another question for you. What are your thoughts on the Rule 5 draft that's coming up soon? It's a loaded question, and there may not be a lot of people that are going to understand everything that hypothetically goes into the Rule 5 draft. If you want to explain it first before you talk about certain players, but it's something that if you're a diehard Padres fan and a diehard baseball fan, I think can be some of the most interesting intricates of baseball.
Well, while I explain it, I need you to look up the list of players that we have that are eligible for it because I have no fucking
I will
idea.
do that right now. I was looking at it earlier. There's some dude on Twitter talking about it, and there's a couple of guys that I've heard of, but just if you want to explain what a Rule 5 draft is for people.
Yeah, so the Rule 5 draft happens every year, like I think in like November, December. And what it is like after a prospect has been in an organization for a certain amount of time, it's like 3 or 4 years, the organization has to make a decision whether to add them to the 40-man roster or they could be subject to the Rule 5 draft, which means like any organization that has an opening on their 40-man roster can draft that player, but that team that drafts them has to put them on their 25-man roster. So, for example, last year we protected Mackenzie Gore from the Rule 5 draft by adding him to the 40-man roster. Had we not, some team like the Pirates, who would have had a high draft pick because it's the same order as the amateur draft, they probably would have drafted Mackenzie Gore, and therefore Mackenzie Gore would have had to have stayed on the Pirates' 25-man roster. Mm-hmm. But he would be a Pittsburgh Pirate.
Yeah, an interesting, like, if you think about the Padres from 2016 to about 2018, 2019, our team was primarily built of players we took in the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah,
and not a lot of people
it's a smart strategy for rebuilding teams because, like, you can just, find shit, like, in any round of that draft and have them work out at the major league level for free.
Yeah, so the biggest name that I know in the Rule 5 draft, I just pulled it up, Evan Miller. Who else do we got here? We got Jesse Schultens, Aaron Leisure, Lake Botcher. I don't know how to say his name correctly. Bacher, yep. Those are just a few that I could find. Noel Vela, or Viela. I'm butchering a lot of these names. It's just names I've read. I haven't heard it pronounced, And technically, I'm pretty sure Campisano is, but I mean, we're obviously going to protect him.
Yeah. Campisano's already on the 40-man, so he should be good. Other than that, I don't see anyone there that I think is at risk of getting taken. I think Evan Miller might be a pretty decent bullpen arm, so like they might consider, but I mean, none of those guys really strike me as, we need to hang on to them like, Gore and to a bit of a lesser extent, Steven Wilson were last offseason. Like, there's no one that stands out to me, which is good because that leaves us a lot of options for what we can do with our 40-man roster this offseason. We don't have to be tied down by any of those guys.
Yeah. And that means for people that don't necessarily understand it, instead of wasting a roster spot on a guy like, I don't know, Matthew Batten necessarily. Not hating on my boy Matt Batt. That's my boy right there.
I'll hate on him. Matt, I'm sorry, man, but your major league career is most likely over. I apologize. Congratulations on making it this far. You're a way better athlete than I will ever be, but you're probably not going to play for the Padres next year, but I'm sorry.
But instead of having Matthew Batten, on your 40-man, you can make moves where I think the value is in spring training invitees. You get a couple of veterans that can make a huge impact on the team, and you know what? If they don't, we can just cut them in spring training. And I think that you get a lot of value out of that, which is something we haven't really had since we're like rebuilding. So I mean, you can have a guy like Will Smith who barely made a postseason roster for the Astros. This is the first series he's on the roster. He could be a guy that you could have as a spring training invitee, and he could very well ball out and become a huge part of the bullpen. It's just you give yourself more opportunities to create successful baseball players. I'm not saying that these younger guys that would fill in that 40-man would not be successful necessarily, but more of like, I don't know the best way to say it, like you're taking a risk on someone that's been there. You know, when you do stuff, you always like to reflect on people that have been there. So I think if you get opportunities to invite certain people to spring training, you can have a better chance. For example, that's like why we had Robbie Cano starting at second base for a bit this year instead of calling up Eguy Rosario. Robbie Cano's been there. But, yeah.
Well, better example, the Reds signed a guy for $300,000 this offseason and invited him to spring training, and we traded Victor Acosta for him at the trade deadline at Brandon Drury.
I did not know that. That's a really good
spring
example.
Training invite this year for $300,000.
That's a really good example.
Yeah.
So think about that when you think about building a roster. And obviously we're going to have a better idea of what roster ring's going to look like after the postseason. I mean, December 1st is kind of like where everything starts. But, I mean, just kind of coming on here and outlining the postseason I thought was a great idea to discuss the possibilities. Because right now your mind's endless. Anything's possible. You know,
yeah.
We could wake up December 1st and hear, bang, Padres trade for Ohtani. There's nothing that's listing us off yet. And you can slowly see the postseason finishing and everything just kind of going like this of who's going where. Like now you're starting to hear DeGrom is getting interest from the Orioles, the Rangers. You know, you're getting Nuggets closer and closer instead of me waking up, I don't know, Monday after we lost going, yeah, that Jacob DeGrom guy, he's a San Diego Padre. We clearly know that's not happening. You know what I mean?
Brandon Nimmo to the Rockies because apparently they won't learn their fucking lesson.
Yeah, that's crazy. $125 million? Right?
Will struggle to find. At least the Pirates know how to make money. They know what they're doing and trying to make money. The Rockies strategy of, oh, look, we have a bunch of shitty players. Let's sign them all to contract extensions. The fuck are they doing?
Remember when they didn't trade anyone away at this deadline and they just extended Daniel Bard?
They extended Daniel Bard. He's like 40.
He would, and you know what? He probably had value that you could have traded away at the deadline.
I guess their strategy is like they want to build team chemistry, but like
they suffer from mediocrity right now. They really suffer from mediocrity, and it's like the 2011 to 2013 Padres, where it's just like, here's a bunch of mediocre players. They may be old, their careers may be done, but you know what? It's going to guarantee you 60 to 80 wins. So if that's what you want to do, go ahead. And then after that, you had Preller come in and try to build this roster off of. I mean, and you know what? Everyone gives Preller flack for the trades he made then. I don't know how you feel about it, but personally, I think Ron Fowler kind of forced him to do that. I think Ron Fowler was like, listen, we need to build a winner right now. Do whatever it takes to build a winner right now. And he tried. And it's the same thing as like Farhan. Farhan's throwing shit on the wall, hoping it's sticking. And that's what the Padres tried doing in those years. And then they kind of rebuilt, and it showed how good of a GM AJ can be. But I mean, his weakness, like his kryptonite is Ranger prospects. Like, it's weird. It's everything besides that. He's arguably the best GM in baseball. But as soon as you bring in Ranger prospects, Jorge Alfaro, Profar, I mean, they've all paid off in their own respects, but guys like Nomar Mazara haven't, you know?
Yeah, no, I get it.
Just a couple of guys off the top of my head. I don't know. Anything else you want to add? Any more points you want to make and talk about the offseason?
I think I'm good. I'm about to fucking fall asleep because I am an old-ass man and I got to go to work tomorrow, sadly. But anything you want to add? Mr. Host.
I got nothing to add to it. You're a great first guest. It was fun talking ball with you.
Of course.
I definitely hope you'd be interested in coming on again.
Absolutely. You know, I'll be making the rounds to, you know, different podcasts that want to have me on, but you know, Gavin wanted to have me on as his first guest, like introduce him into the the wide world of Padres podcasting, the lucrative industry.
Well, the difference is I'm gonna tell it how it is. Like if I'm pissed off about the Padres, I'm not gonna lollygag around it because I'm looking for an interview with fucking AJ Preller. I'm gonna tell you that AJ Preller fucking sucks if he makes a shitty trade. You know.
Yeah.
I think there's too much like hopping around avoiding like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna talk bad about Machado because my dream is Machado's gonna magically knock on my door and go, hey dude, I don't want to be interviewed by ESPN, I want to be interviewed by you. You know what I mean? Doesn't make sense, but thank you so much for coming on. Once again, hope to have you on soon, and Volkanovski's gonna beat gonna beat Islam. But thank you so much for joining in. I'm going to go ahead and end this right now.